Hi guys, welcome to my channel. Today I have a very beautiful message that I feel like would really help some of the women out there. This is something that I have been battling with on my own. It's the feeling of feeling overlooked and misunderstood and not seen. I feel like a lot of the world will tell us who they think that we are, and from childhood all of these beliefs start to come into us and we start to take on these beliefs even though that's not us. And it's not that we are overlooked. It's never that we are overlooked and unseen and unheard, right? It's that God is preserving us for something special. God is not going to want you to be in a position where you are undervalued, unappreciated. And so if someone is rejecting you, it's coming from a place of divine protection, especially as a woman. Now, I know that this translates a lot into romantic relationships and finding the right man and finding the right partner, right? And so sometimes we can feel so unseen from the man that we date and the relationships we decide to get ourselves into. And it's a process of having to know our worth in God and knowing what God says about us, while still getting to know who we are and how to apply that into our relationships. And so I just want to encourage you and let you know that if you feel overlooked, if you feel like you're not seen or heard or desired, the devil wants you to believe those things, because he knows what God has for you is special. He knows what God has for you is uniquely and specially made for you. And we are all humans. Of course, we're going to think in our head things like, why me? Why am I experiencing these things? Is there something wrong with me? And I have dealt with that so much when I didn't get the validation from someone, right? It's always an external thing that will make us question our worth. I may not get the validation from this specific situation, and it may translate to me that I'm not worthy enough, but that's where the devil plays on your vulnerability, and he wants you to believe those things, that you're not worthy as a woman. When you know that you're a good woman, when you know you are kind-hearted and you show up authentically, and you know God has called you for something special, like there's a feeling deep down in your gut that tells you that you deserve more, right? This isn't just an illusion where you don't ever think that you deserve more. No, you know in your gut that you do. But sometimes we will settle for things that we know that we don't deserve, and we know that we deserve more. Just to kind of touch on that point of being a woman and having romantic relationships, society sees women in a way of which we have to be married in order to be valuable. If we're not in a relationship, we're not looked at as valuable or even desired, right? So we may feel like once we get married, we are valuable, or once we obtain this thing, we are valuable. I want you to challenge that belief, because that's where a lot of us women go wrong. You are already valuable. You are already valuable since you were born. So in the Bible, in Jeremiah 1:5, it says, I knew you before I formed you in your mother's womb. Before you were born, I set you apart. Do you know what that means? That means that before you were even conceived or even thought of, God had a plan for you, right? Which means that you are already valuable, which brings me to my point of you are royalty. When you are royalty, you don't just settle for anything. You don't just settle for the little crumbs that people give to you, because you know you're worthy of much more. That's how we have to walk as women. We can't think that we're overlooked because certain things don't pan out. We need to see that as we are highly favored by God, and God is selecting favorable outcomes for us. So if something does not work out, if someone does not see our true essence and who we are as a person, it's because they weren't meant to see. It's because they weren't deserving of all of who we are. And when we start to believe this and put this in our bodies and our soul and our spirit, our whole essence and how we show up in the world changes. We're no longer settling for what someone says about us and internalizing it, because we know who we are. We know who God says we are, and we move with consistency, and we show up for the things that show up for us, right? I want to share some more scriptures as well. The story of Esther, she was being prepared for greatness. In Esther 4:14, it says, and who knows but that you have come to your royal position for such a time as this. In the beginning, Esther did not see the full picture of why God was building her in a silent season. But after she met all of this royalty, that's when things made sense. It was because God was preserving her for something special and grand, right? God had a bigger plan for her life. And so when we walk like this as women, we can be expectant of all the good things that God has for us. We don't have to dim our light and dim our spirit because someone may have overlooked us or not have acknowledged us the way that we know we deserve, right? We live in this world with millions of people. Not everybody is gonna see us the way that we're supposed to be seen. But you know what? The right people are gonna see you the way you're supposed to be seen. And when you walk like this, you no longer put pressure on people and experiences to contort itself to who you are, right? You just let God do the heavy lifting, and you trust that alignment will come to you. When you align yourself, knowing the truth of who God says you are, everything else has no choice but to come to you. All of the favorite experiences, all of the favorite connections, the favorite romantic partner, the favorite business deals, the favorite everything. But you have to align yourself to this truth. And another thing I wanted to point out also, sometimes when things aren't coming in the timing that we want, and also sometimes if we've had a history of disappointment, for an example, if we've had a history of disappointment in man showing up, we can lose our faith just a little bit. And we can internalize that and think that just because a man or multiple men have not showed up for me, that's all I'm worth, and that's all I'll ever be worth. Keyword, that's all I'll ever be worth, if I could get it out. We will look into our future and put our future into a box based off our past experiences. So God has not withheld love from you. He has preserved it. It's hidden because it requires you to feel worthy of it and to know your worth. Just know that God is preparing you for something luxury, royal, and special, because you are highly favored. If this video touched you, like, comment, and share it with someone who needs to hear it today.